Before you go out and buy that used hand plane, make sure you watch this video. Hello folks, well we're back to give you our third part of our video on buying used hand planes. Now when I say we, I'm referring to my good friend Dennis Laney. Dennis has over 60 years of being in the trades and as a furniture maker, and he was a guest here in my shop. Now in the first video we talked about buying an all metal bodied hand plane. And in the second video we talked about a transitional hand plane, which is half wood and metal combined together. Now if you didn't see those videos, don't worry about it. I have links in the description below. But on this episode we're going to talk to you about buying an all wooden bodied hand plane. Now before we start today's video, I do want to thank the folks over there at Woodcraft for sponsoring today's episode. Woodcraft is helping you make wood work. Okay, let's see where Dennis last left off and see what he's got to say about buying a wooden hand plane. And then let's take a look at these last here. I get this out of your way. These last ones, these are called coffin style planes because of the shape of them. These were the smoothing planes, correct?
Yeah, and as you know, I'll typically go to my wooden planes before I use any of my iron planes. I'm just a real devotee of wooden planes. But yeah, the coffin style, and again, this coffin is the old toe pincher type of coffin, you know, back from the early 20th century, which seems like yesterday to me. But these are wonderful little planes, and what you want to look for is the integrity of the body. Now this is a cute one. It's a nicely shaped little plane, but it has some issues. Number one, the cheek of the plane is completely fractured, probably from a drop, and you can see that there's a fracture line here and another fracture line off the mouth.
Yeah. Well, one's if you just put glue on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted something to just have sitting around in the family room, for an example, you could just re-glue that, and it would certainly be fine for that. If you wanted to turn this into a user, there are several other issues. Number one, the iron is really completely gone. In fact, you can see that it's so far gone that it's actually down to the slot.
And you said this is where the soft steel is.
Yeah,
now.
well, you can see this line right here. Mm-hmm. That looks like where the tool steel's been laid in. So theoretically, you could actually turn this into a tongue and groove plane.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this would make your tongue right here if you ground it back a little bit more. The chip breaker is fine. There's no problem with that. So this would definitely be something that you'd want to get another iron for. And this says Ohio tool. More often than not, in old wooden planes, you're going to see that the body lasted longer than the plane, and these tapered planes are really pretty much interchangeable.
Okay.
It might require you to do a little bit of work on the wedge if these angles vary a little bit, but they're pretty consistently the same angle. So you'll see many of these, you might see an auburn body with a union iron, you know, would not be unusual. Or you'll see an iron that has been made by a company that made nothing but irons. And they would make them for all the manufacturers. I'll take that back. The manufacturers typically would make their own irons. On occasion, though, they would subcontract their irons out. So it wouldn't be unusual for for a smith or a smithing company to make irons for a number of manufacturers. They'd sell irons too. A lot of guys made their own bodies. This is not a difficult tool to make, obviously. This one, though, this is very likely, though, a manufacturer's body. It's pretty cleanly made. You can see the cheeks have been, they're pretty precise. The mouth at one time was pretty precise. This routing for the chip breaker screws pretty clean. Other than that, as I say, just looking at, and the thing too here is there's been so much wear in this that the mouth has really opened up an awful lot.
I noticed too there was a crack right here on what they call the abutment where the wedge
Yeah.
holds the iron and chip breaker tight, and that can cause the iron to come loose on you, right?
Yeah, and when you mentioned the abutment, or a lot of guys will just refer to this as the cheek right in here. But the wedge does fit down in there, and many times you'll see that that's cracked there, and that's more often than not done by somebody getting an iron that really doesn't fit. And you'll see a lot of times when somebody who's not familiar with tapered irons will put a straight iron in there and then put the wedge in, and it won't fit. So the first response is to get a big hammer and drive this wedge down in as tight as you can. Unfortunately, the only thing that does is crack the abutment right there.
Gotcha. And with this iron so short, besides not having much ability to sharpen,
you couldn't adjust it laterally, or you couldn't adjust the depth of it either.
Okay.
So
this one,
yeah, I don't know. Did somebody give you this?
I did. Yeah, I did get that out of. It was in a box of several.
Yeah,
and that one was in there.
This is one of those gifts you'd say, "Gee, thank you very much." Yeah. This plane right here is a good user plane.
You need a
yeah,
mallet?
if you got a little mallet, a little dead blow or something.
Will this work?
It might. The way you take these apart is, and this is nice because it has a little knob back here. You just kind of tap this, and you don't have to tap it real hard, just to loosen that iron up, and you'll hear the wedge when it pops loose typically. Either that or the body cracks, one or the other. This iron, this is interesting because this iron is not original to this plane. It's a tapered iron, but its width is not equal to the chip breaker width. So one of two things. Either the chip breaker is from another plane or the iron is from another plane.
So now where are you seeing that? Where are you seeing the chip breaker?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I can feel it.
Right.
The chip breaker is a
And
little bit
notice
wider.
that this says Sergeant
Yeah.
right here. Okay, what I was talking about irons going. This says the New York Tool Company, Auburn, New York.
Actually, I might have one of
That
those
is
blades
not
laying
Sergeant.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, but this plane is in really nice shape. It hasn't been abused. Again, it's been faced off. It's had a new insert put into the sole. This could be cleaned up a little bit. Typically, what I'll do is on a wooden plane, I'll go around and I'll just make a little chamfer, maybe a 1/16 of an inch chamfer all the way around the edges. That prevents it from getting nicked.
Okay.
But this is a very nice little plane. The body's good. It's full thickness. Everything looks like it works pretty well.
Now, should we look for cracks on these here?
Yeah, you want to look for cracks in the wedge.
And if these like horns are missing, does that make a difference?
It will, because it,
will,
won't.
okay.
These actually go down and they hold the iron in place all the way down, or close to it being all the way down. You want it. This eliminates chatter. Now, there is another issue with this. This protrudes. This screw is protruding through the chip breaker, so you want to go through into the wedge and you want to figure out an area and just kind of relieve that.
If I'm going to keep that.
If you're going to use this.
Gotcha.
Right.
Because I might have a blade laying around, an iron laying around that would fit that body.
Yeah. But this is a good user, and the mouth is tight. This would be very much akin, and you can feel it. See where it's rocking right there?
Oh yeah.
And it's rocking because the screw is protruding.
Gotcha.
So
that's an easy fix.
That's an easy fix.
Okay.
Yeah. And somebody took very good care of this plane because it has been used, but this is a worthwhile effort right here to do whatever you got to do to get the correct iron in there and relieve that that wedge. That's a good one.
Now this is the last one we'll look at. Another.
Did you buy this for me?
I did. This is the last one. The same thing, another coffin style plane. And your thoughts on that?
Well, this is interesting because the body itself is in really excellent condition for a plane this age. And I'm going to guess this is another New York tool company. I don't know if that's a wormhole or somebody's put a little hook eye in there to hang it.
There was a little eye
Right.
screw on it. I took that out. I got this from an old time organ maker. The guy makes pipe organs,
Right.
and this was out of his collection.
This is okay. It may not be completely. Oh, the iron's up a little bit, I guess. A dead blow hammer is a good thing to have for these two. They're released. The wedge itself doesn't look bad. Again, it's got the problem here, the same problem with that chip breaker screw protruding. The iron looks really very good.
And it's quite thick too. Even the chip breaker.
The chip breaker, yeah. And this chip breaker, this is a standard tapered iron chip breaker, where it's made with a little bit more of a wedge shape here than a roll, which you see on you'll see it kind of a rolled edge on this style chip breaker, right in here, where this has been bent down, and you can see that it's actually bent over. This would be my preference for chip breakers, by the way. Now, what he did was he ground the screw at some point to allow for clearance, but he could have relieved this, and it would have gotten a better fit. There's some real interesting things going on here. I don't know if you can see them in here, probably pretty, but there's some scratch marks down here on the cheeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that. What do you think that was?
Well, my guess would be that he was having trouble with this clogging up.
Oh.
And so he was using some kind of tool to dig clogs out of there. The other giveaway is this mouth is really, really wide open, and you'd never see a mouth that open on a smoothing plane. So this was used to do an awful lot of rough work, but with a mouth opening like that, you wouldn't even see a jack plane or a scrub plane that open. And if you look closely at this, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but you can see this has all been chiseled away. See on the sides? See on the sides right there? Yeah, that whole area has been chiseled away, and that mouth has been really opened up. And I think whoever had this plane thought that by opening the mouth up, that he would be able to eliminate that clogging. And it just doesn't work like that.
The clogging was a result of the wood type, improper fit.
Actually, the fit of these little pointed sections on the wedge, this will cause some clogs. So you want to make sure that this is very clean, very precisely chiseled out. You want to leave them on. You don't want to cut them back to here because they actually serve a purpose. But the material would hang up on these things. So you want to make sure, especially if this is squared off, you'd start getting a little bit of a
well, that's
clog.
Interesting you say that, because this one comes to like a sharp point, and that one looks rounded over. And that's the side it looked like he was having problems with.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot more scratch marks on this side than there is on this side. So I'd say that this would certainly be a usable plane. The body's, again, in good shape, but what you'd have to do is you'd have to go in and put an insert in here. And
just like on this one here.
Yeah.
And close that gap
exactly.
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can see the difference in those gaps. As we put this back together a little bit. But you can see that the huge difference. And again, what that does is once you engage into the cut when you're planing, it allows the chip to break out ahead. So you have no surface. You're holding that chip down in place, which gives you a good clean shaving. So you'd get very, very rough work out of this plane. but it's a nice looking plane. And like I say, it's in other than those few problems, it's in great shape.
Okay, great. Well, that is a
Enough
wealth
for
of
today.
a wealth of knowledge for anyone who wants to look at either buying a used hand plane to start off in woodworking, or if you just want to have them for your collection that we like to do and use. All right, so there you go. There's a whole bunch of good information that Dennis was able to share with us. Again, make sure you check out those links for the first 2 videos. And we're probably going to keep this series going at some point. I'm going to talk to you about where I buy my hand planes, what to look for as far as ads and for price. And Dennis and I are also going to take a hand plane that's been untouched for years, has probably been dinged and damaged, and we're going to tune it up and really make it work well for you. So look for those in the future. I also have some other videos coming where I do some turnings, some projects, and some more geometry, because you all seem to like that. So if there's anything of interest there that you would like to see first, please leave your comments below so I can read them and get to that. Also too, if you want to show off one of your projects, well, you can do that on our Facebook page called What Are You Doing? Just answer a couple of preliminary questions and you'll be good to go to join this private group and show off what you're making in your shop. And if you have a question about something you're trying to do in your shop, well, feel free to email me at woodchoppingtime@gmail.com, because after all, my whole goal is to make you a better woodworker. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, keep on dancing.